Drama story of a single mother. In Ashes of Love, in Seattle in 2025, Claire Donovan discovers her husband Ethan's affair with Sienna Blake and his illegal data program at NeuroLink. Together with her friend Lila Chen, she installs a virus, exposing the fraud at the IPO, destroying Ethan and Sienna. The story begins. Everyone, please subscribe to my Sweet Revenge YouTube channel. Seattle's rain lashed against the penthouse windows, a relentless curtain of silver that cloaked the city's neon-lit skyline in a mournful haze. Inside the sleek Belltown apartment, all glass and chrome, Claire Donovan, 34, stood by a towering window, her reflection a ghost against the storm. Her blonde hair, once a cascade of ambition, was pulled into a messy bun, her hazel eyes dulled by years of sacrifice. Once a software engineer whose algorithms powered Seattle's startup scene, she'd traded her code for motherhood and a husband's dream, her brilliance buried under the weight of domesticity. Ethan Pierce, 36, her husband and CEO of NeuroLink, an AI startup on the cusp of a billion-dollar IPO, hadn't kissed her in months. His late nights, his curt texts, the faint whiff of jasmine perfume clinging to his jackets, they were lines of corrupted code in the program of their marriage. Tonight, a rare family dinner promised a fleeting connection, but the air was thick with unspoken tension. The rain's drumbeat a pulse of dread. Claire set the table with mechanical precision, her hands arranging minimalist porcelain plates, their stark white surfaces mocking the warmth she craved. The penthouse's open-plan kitchen gleamed, stainless steel appliances, a quartz island, a smart fridge humming with AI efficiency, but it felt like a mausoleum. Cold and sterile, Zoe, their 10-year-old daughter, bounded in, her dark curls bouncing, her freckled face alight with a joy that pierced Claire's heart. "Mommy, can we have dessert first?" Zoe asked, her voice a melody as she climbed onto a barstool, swinging her legs. Claire forced a smile, her lips trembling, and ruffled Zoe's hair. "Not tonight, sweetie," she said, her voice soft but strained. "Let's wait for Daddy." Zoe pouted, her stuffed rabbit clutched tight, its button eyes glinting under the pendant lights. The rain's rhythm grew louder, a metronome to Claire's unease, as if the city itself sensed the storm brewing within her. Ethan strode in, his tailored blazer damp, his dark hair tousled, his phone glued to his hand. He barely glanced at Claire, his eyes fixed on the screen, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "Traffic was a nightmare," he muttered, tossing his jacket over a chair, the jasmine scent wafting like a warning. Claire's stomach churned, but she plated the salmon, her hands steady despite the tremor in her chest. "Dinner's ready," she said, her voice a fragile thread, hoping for a spark of the man she'd married, the dreamer who'd sketched NeuroLink's vision on napkins a decade ago. Ethan sat, his attention still on his phone, his fork idle. Zoe, oblivious to the frost between her parents, piped up, her voice bright as she speared a broccoli floret. "Daddy, tell me about your new friend." Ethan froze, his wineglass halfway to his lips, his blue eyes flicking to Claire, sharp with alarm. "What friend, Zoe?" he asked, his tone smooth but edged, like a blade wrapped in silk. Zoe giggled, twirling her fork. "The lady you talk to at night. I heard you on the phone when I was supposed to be asleep." Claire's fork clattered to her plate, the sound a gunshot in the quiet, her breath catching as if the air had turned to shards of glass. Ethan's laugh was too loud, a forced chuckle that grated against Claire's nerves. "Just work, kiddo," he said, ruffling Zoe's curls, his hand lingering a beat too long. "Boring stuff, trust me," but his eyes darted to Claire, a flicker of guilt betraying his charm. Claire's pulse thundered, her fingers curling into fists under the table, the linen napkin crumpling in her grip. "Zoe, finish your veggies," she said, her voice tight, a smile plastered on her face for her daughter's sake. Zoe huffed but obeyed, chattering about school, her innocence a lifeline Claire clung to. Ethan returned to his phone, his thumbs flying, oblivious to the fracture he just widened. The rain outside roared, a deluge that matched the fury rising in Claire's chest, each drop a hammer on her crumbling resolve. After dinner, with Zoe tucked into bed, her rabbit nestled under her chin, Claire stood alone in the kitchen, the dishes stacked, the silence suffocating. Ethan had retreated to his study, claiming urgent emails, the door clicking shut like a verdict. His phone lay on the counter, its black screen a siren's call. Claire's hand hovered over it, her breath shallow, the jasmine scent still lingering like a ghost. She typed her birthday, 0715, his passcode unchanged from their early days. A cruel irony. The screen unlocked, revealing a thread from SB, last night was electric. Ethan, can't wait for more. A photo loaded, Sienna Blake, 29. NeuroLink's head of PR. Lounging in a silk slip. Her auburn hair spilling over bare shoulders. Her smirk a challenge that sliced through Claire's heart. Oh, God, Claire whispered, her knees buckling, her hand gripping the counter's cold edge. The room spun, the penthouse's sleek lines blurring as tears burned her eyes. Sienna, with her sharp wit and sharper ambition, had been at their last company party. Her laugh ringing as she toasted Ethan's success, her hand grazing his arm. Now, her betrayal was a virus, infecting every memory of their marriage. Claire's fingers trembled as she deleted the messages. The photo, as if erasing them could undo the wound. But the image of Sienna's smirk was seared into her mind. A brand of betrayal. You bastard, she hissed, her voice a fracture in the silence. The rain's roar her only witness. Her coding instincts kicked in, her mind racing like lines of code compiling a plan. She wouldn't scream, wouldn't beg, she'd rewrite this story, line by line, until Ethan's empire was ash. The kitchen clock ticked, its hands slicing through the night. Each second a vow. Claire straightened, her reflection in the window a stranger, eyes blazing. Jaw set, a woman ready to debug her life. No matter the cost. The rain kept falling, a relentless code she'd crack. One way or another. Seattle's rain fell in sheets. A silver veil that blurred the neon signs of Pike Street, casting the city in a cyber-noir glow. Inside the electric dive, a gritty bar tucked between pawn shops and tattoo parlors. The air reeked of stale beer and cigarette ghosts. The jukebox wailing a moody indie pop anthem that pulsed like a heartbeat. Claire Donovan sat in a corner booth, her rain-soaked hoodie clinging to her shoulders, its dark fabric a shield against the world's prying eyes. Her blonde hair, damp and tangled, framed a face etched with betrayal, her hazel eyes burning with a fury that hadn't slept since she'd seen Sienna Blake's texts on Ethan's phone 3 nights ago. The memory of Sienna's smirk, her silk slip, Ethan's lies, it was a virus in Claire's mind, rewriting her grief into something sharper, more dangerous. The bar's flickering Edison bulbs cast shadows across her hands, which clutched an untouched whiskey, its amber surface trembling with her suppressed rage. She wasn't here to drink, she was here to plot a war. Lila Chen, 32, slid into the booth opposite her, her leather jacket glistening with rain, her black hair streaked with electric blue, a nod to her hacker roots. Lila's eyes, sharp as binary code, scanned Claire's face, her silver septum piercing glinting under the dim light. Ethan's a prick, Lila said, her voice low and fierce, slamming a second whiskey shot onto the scarred wooden table. But you're Claire freaking Donovan. You built algorithms that made millionaires cry. Don't sit there looking like a kicked puppy. What's your move? Claire's gaze met hers, hard as flint, her fingers tightening around the glass until her knuckles whitened. I want his empire in ashes, she said, her voice a blade, each word carved from the wreckage of her marriage. NeuroLink, his pride, everything he's built, I want it gone. Lila's lips curled into a wicked grin, her chipped black nail polish tapping the table's edge. That's the Claire I know. NeuroLink's AI is a goldmine. But Ethan's greedy. I'd bet my rig he's selling user data, mental health records. The kind of shit that's illegal as hell. Hack his servers, find proof, and you can burn him to the ground. Claire's pulse quickened, a dark thrill sparking in her chest, like debugging a perfect line of code. How do we get in? She asked, leaning closer, the whiskey's fumes sharp in her nose. Lila's voice dropped to a conspirator's hush, her eyes gleaming. I'll crack their firewall. You plant a virus inside. You still got the chops, right? Claire nodded, her mind already spinning algorithms, a plan compiling in the ruins of her heart. Get me access, she said, her voice steady, a vow sealed in the bar's smoky air. Back in the penthouse, the silence was a living thing, heavy with Ethan's absence. He was at another, late meeting, his lies as routine as the rain. Zoe slept, her stuffed rabbit tucked under her chin, her bedroom door ajar, a sliver of moonlight spilling across the hardwood. Claire sat at her old desk in the guest room, a space once meant for her coding projects, now cluttered with Zoe's art supplies. She dusted off her laptop, its sleek silver surface a relic of her past life. The hum of its fan a familiar song. Her fingers flew across the keys, resurrecting her credentials. Claire Donovan, lead engineer at defunct startups. Her GitHub profile a graveyard of brilliance. She crafted a pitch, a pro bono system audit for NeuroLink. A favor, to ensure their IPO's success. At breakfast, she slid the proposal across the quartz island, her voice honey-sweet as she poured Ethan's coffee, the pot's steam curling like her deception. I've been thinking, she said, her eyes soft, masking the storm within. I could audit NeuroLink's systems, make sure everything's tight for the IPO. It's been a while, but I miss it. Ethan, scrolling his phone, barely glanced up, his tie loose, his smirk distracted. Sure, Claire, he muttered, sipping the coffee. Do what you want, just don't screw it up. His arrogance was her key, unlocking a door he'd never suspect. By Monday, Claire stepped into NeuroLink's glass-walled offices in South Lake Union, a temple of tech with sleek desks, holographic displays, and the hum of ambition. The receptionist, a nervous intern named Mia, handed her a badge, stammering, "Mr. Pierce said you have full access." Claire smiled, her laptop bag a weapon, her navy blazer a disguise. "I'll start in the server room," she said, her voice calm, her heart a war drum. Inside, the servers glowed blue, their fans a low roar. The air chilled like a crypt. She plugged in her laptop. Lila's encrypted tools bypassing security in minutes. Claire planted a virus, Lila's design. A silent predator set to expose data breaches at the IPO. Her fingers danced, code flowing like poetry, each line a brick in her fortress of revenge. She photographed a post-it on Ethan's desk, Datavault 2025, a password so lazy it made her scoff. By night, she trawled his emails from home, using Zoe's tablet when Ethan was asleep, finding invoices for illegal data sales, cryptic notes about offshore buyers. Each file she saved was a spark, her rage a steady flame. The penthouse's smart lights flickered, as if sensing her betrayal. The rain outside a code she was rewriting. But Sienna Blake was a venomous shadow. Claire met her at a trendy Capitol Hill cafe, its exposed brick walls and artisanal coffee a stage for her deception. Sienna, in a velvet blazer, sipped chai, her auburn hair cascading, her eyes gleaming with arrogance. "Ethan's moving on, Claire," she purred, her manicured nails tapping the table. "You're sweet, but he needs someone who sparks. You know?" Claire's coffee cup trembled, but her smile was a mask, her voice soft as poison. "I just want what's best for him," she said, her eyes wide with false sincerity. "Are you sure he's all in with you? He's always been slippery." Sienna's smirk faltered, a crack in her armor. But she laughed, tossing her hair. "Oh, honey, he's mine. Don't worry your pretty head." Claire nodded, her mind cataloging the slip. Sienna's ego was her weakness, a variable Claire could exploit. The cafe's clinking cups faded, the world narrowing to her prey. Zoe, though, was Claire's heart's fracture. One night, Claire caught her eavesdropping, her small frame silhouetted in the hallway as Claire whispered with Lila on the phone. "Why are you always sneaky now?" Zoe asked, her eyes wide, clutching her rabbit. "Are you mad at Daddy?" Claire knelt, her throat tight, stroking Zoe's curls. "I'm keeping us safe, baby," she said, her voice breaking, a lie she hated herself for. Zoe's frown deepened, her innocence a mirror of Claire's guilt. The penthouse's rain-streaked windows reflected their faces. A mother and daughter caught in a web Claire had spun. She tucked Zoe in, promising, "Everything's okay," but the words tasted like ash. Back in her study, Claire opened her laptop, the virus's code glowing, her resolve hardening. The rain's rhythm was her pulse, urging her forward, a current pulling her toward a reckoning she couldn't escape. Seattle's skyline glittered through the rain, a mosaic of neon and steel that pulsed with the city's relentless ambition. The Space Needle loomed above, its observation deck transformed into a dazzling stage for NeuroLink's IPO launch. A billion-dollar gamble that had Seattle's tech elite buzzing like moths around a flame. Inside, the gala was a cyber-noir spectacle, holographic displays projecting NeuroLink's AI diagnostics, champagne flutes clinking under LED chandeliers, and ex-influencers live-streaming with #NeuroLinkFuture. Claire Donovan stood on a rooftop across the street, her trench coat soaked, its collar turned up against the November chill. Her blonde hair clung to her cheeks, her hazel eyes fixed on the glowing windows above, where her husband, Ethan Pierce, was moments from his crowning triumph or his catastrophic fall. The virus she'd planted in NeuroLink's servers, coded with Lila Chen's ruthless precision, was a ticking bomb, set to expose Ethan's illegal data sales and Sienna Blake's complicity. Claire's heart thundered, a mix of dread and exhilaration, her breath fogging in the damp air. The city's hum, traffic, rain, distant sirens, was a chorus to her vengeance. But the weight of her daughter Zoe's pleas threatened to unravel her resolve. Inside the penthouse 3 nights ago, Zoe had caught Claire whispering with Lila on a secure line, her small frame silhouetted in the hallway, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Why are you always sneaky now, Mommy?" Zoe had asked, her dark curls framing a face too perceptive, her voice trembling with fear. "Are we leaving Daddy?" Claire had knelt, her throat tight, the rain-streaked windows reflecting their fractured bond. "I'm keeping us safe, baby," she'd said, stroking Zoe's curls, her voice breaking under the lie's weight. "Trust me, okay?" Zoe's eyes, wide and wet, had searched hers, her frown deepening. "But you're mad at him," she'd whispered, hugging her rabbit tighter. "I don't want you to fight." Claire had forced a smile, tucking Zoe into bed, but the girl's words were a splinter in her heart, a reminder of the collateral her war might claim. "Everything's okay," she'd promised, kissing Zoe's forehead, but the rain's relentless drum outside mocked her words. The next morning, Ethan had shattered her hesitation. Over a cold breakfast in the penthouse's sterile kitchen, his suitcase packed by the door. He'd barely looked at her, his coffee untouched. "I'm moving out," he'd said, his voice flat, his blue eyes avoiding hers. "Sienna and it's serious. I'll call Zoe later." Claire's mug had trembled in her hands, the ceramic burning her palms, her rage reigniting like a flare. "You're leaving us for her?" she'd asked, her voice low, a blade wrapped in disbelief. Ethan had shrugged, adjusting his tie, his smirk infuriating. "You've been checked out for years. Claire, don't act surprised." He'd walked out, the door clicking shut, leaving the jasmine scent of his cologne in a wound that bled fury. Claire had stood frozen, the kitchen's smart lights flickering as if sensing her resolve. Her virus wasn't just a plan now, it was a necessity. A fire she'd stoke until Ethan's empire was ash. Claire had met Lila that night in a rain-soaked alley behind a Fremont brewery. The air thick with hops and betrayal. Lila's leather jacket glistened, her blue-streaked hair damp, her eyes hard as she handed Claire a USB drive with the final code. "This'll trigger the virus at the IPO," Lila said, her voice a low growl. "Data sales, Sienna's emails, Ethan's voice memos, it's all there. You ready for the fallout?" Claire's jaw tightened, her trench coat dripping onto the cracked asphalt. "He ruined me first," she said, pocketing the drive, her fingers brushing its cold metal, a talisman of her wrath. Lila's gaze softened, a rare crack in her armor. "Zoe's gonna hurt. Claire, you sure?" Claire's breath hitched, Zoe's tearful face flashing in her mind. But she nodded, her voice steel. "I'm sure." The alley's neon signs buzzed, their red glow painting her face like war paint, the rain a relentless witness to her choice. Sienna, meanwhile, was unraveling. Claire's calculated cafe meetings had sown doubt. Her soft questions, "Is Ethan really loyal to you? He's always been a liar," hitting their mark. Lila, hacking Sienna's phone, intercepted frantic texts to Ethan. "Are you playing me? Claire knows something." Claire fed the paranoia, dropping hints at their last meeting in a Capitol Hill cafe, its steam-filled air heavy with espresso and tension. "He's charming, Sienna," Claire had said, stirring her latte, her smile a mask. "But he always has a backup plan. Be careful." Sienna's manicured nails tapped the table, her auburn hair falling into her eyes, her confidence cracking. "He's mine," she'd snapped, but her voice wavered, her chai untouched. Claire's heart raced, her deception a high, like debugging a perfect algorithm. Sienna's emails, leaked to Lila, confirmed her role in the data scheme, sealing her fate. Now, on the rooftop, Claire's phone vibrated, Lila's text glowing. "Virus is live. Good luck." The Space Needle's screens flickered, Ethan's voice booming through the livestream. "NeuroLink is the future." The crowd cheered, X-posts exploding with. Claire's breath caught, her eyes locked on the windows, the rain blurring her vision like tears she refused to shed. Then the virus struck, the screens glitching, projecting stolen data, patient mental health records, Illegal sales to offshore buyers. Ethan's signature damning him. Gasps echoed, the crowd's murmurs turning to a roar. This is a mistake, Ethan shouted, his voice cracking, his charm crumbling as investors bolted for the exits. Sienna's emails flashed next, her voice memo chilling. We sell the data. Ethan, it's our payday. Her scream pierced the chaos as security swarmed. Her auburn hair wild as she was dragged away. Arrested at the gala's edge. Claire's lips parted, a whisper escaping into the rain. You built this world. Ethan, I just burned it down. Her trench coat flapped in the wind. The city's neon pulse fading as the Space Needle's glow dimmed. The live stream cutting to static. Zoe's face haunted her, her pleas a shadow on her triumph. The rooftop's gravel crunched under her boots. Her hands trembling as she gripped the railing. The cold metal grounding her. Lila's voice crackled through her earpiece. You did it. Claire, it's over. But it wasn't. Zoe's hurt was just beginning. A fallout Claire hadn't coded for. The rain fell harder, a deluge washing away her victory, leaving only the bitter taste of what she'd lost. She turned from the view, her silhouette a ghost against Seattle's skyline, her heart a cracked circuit, pulsing with regret. Seattle's rain fell in a relentless whisper, cloaking the Fremont neighborhood in a silver shroud that softened the edges of its quirky streets. Inside Claire Donovan's modest apartment, a far cry from the sterile opulence of her former Belltown penthouse. The air was heavy with the scent of fresh paint and brewing coffee. A fragile attempt at a new beginning. The walls, once bare, now held shelves of coding books and framed sketches by her daughter Zoe. Their vibrant colors a stark contrast to the gray world outside. Claire, 34, stood by a small window, her blonde hair loose and uncombed, her hazel eyes tracing the raindrops that raced down the glass, each one a mirror of her unraveling heart. The NeuroLink IPO was 3 weeks past. Its spectacular collapse, engineered by Claire's virus, still echoing across X where she was hailed as a whistleblower. A tech world avenger, but the victory was ash in her mouth, its cost etched in the silence of her 10-year-old daughter. Zoe, who now lived with her aunt in Tacoma, her resentment a wound Claire couldn't debug. The apartment's lone lamp flickered, casting long shadows across her laptop, its screen dark, a relic of the war she'd won and lost. The divorce settlement had arrived that morning, a thick envelope left on her doorstep like an unwelcome guest. Millions from Ethan Pierce's shattered empire were hers, along with full custody of Zoe. But the numbers felt hollow, a currency that couldn't buy back her daughter's trust. Ethan, once Seattle's golden CEO, was a pariah now, his NeuroLink dream gutted by lawsuits and FBI probes. His face, once plastered on tech blogs, was reduced to grainy X-posts, his charm eroded by disgrace. Sienna Blake, his lover and NeuroLink's cunning PR head, was in jail, her auburn hair and sharp smirk no match for federal charges of data theft. X-users called Claire a hero. Hashtag Claire Donovan trending alongside memes of Ethan's panicked face at the IPO, where her virus had projected his illegal data sales, mental health records sold to offshore buyers, across the Space Needle's screens. But the praise was a bitter echo, drowned by Zoe's last words before she'd left. You broke Daddy. Mommy, you broke us. Claire's new life was a fragile scaffold. She ran a coding school for kids, teaching them to build apps in a rented Fremont studio, its walls plastered with their pixelated creations. You're amazing, Ms. Donovan, a shy 12-year-old had said yesterday, showing her a game he'd coded. Claire had smiled, her voice warm, but her hand trembled as she high-fived him. Zoe's absence a ghost in the room. Her apartment was her sanctuary, its hardwood floors scuffed, its thrift store couch sagging under the weight of her late-night regrets. A single photo stood on the coffee table, Zoe at 8. Grinning with ice cream on her chin. Claire laughing beside her, Ethan's arm around them both. The frame's glass was smudged with her fingerprints, touched too often in the dark. Tonight, the rain's rhythm was a metronome to her grief. Each drop a question she couldn't answer. Was it worth it? She sank onto the couch, her sweatshirt swallowing her frame, and opened her laptop, its hum a familiar comfort. X loaded, a flood of notifications, strangers praising her, tech blogs dissecting her heroic hack. A post caught her eye, Zoe's aunt, posting a photo of Zoe at a Tacoma park, her dark curls bouncing as she swung on a tire swing, her smile bright but distant. Claire's chest tightened, her fingers hovering over the screen, yearning to comment, to bridge the gap. Zoe's last call, a week ago, replayed like a corrupted file. I'm staying with Aunt Lisa, she'd said, her voice flat. A stranger's, I don't want to talk about Daddy. Claire had pleaded, her voice cracking. I did it to protect you. Zoe, I love you. Zoe's reply was a knife. You love winning more. The call had ended, the silence louder than Seattle's rain. Claire's phone buzzed, Lila Chen's name flashing, her childhood friend, the cybersecurity rebel who'd cracked NeuroLink's servers, had been her anchor. But even Lila couldn't fix this. You okay? Lila asked when Claire answered, her voice rough with concern. The faint hum of her gaming rig in the background. You've been ghosting me. Claire leaned back, her eyes on the ceiling's water stain, its edges curling like her regrets. I'm fine, she lied, her voice hollow. Just teaching, you know? Lila snorted, her piercings clinking as she shifted. Bullshit, Zoe's gone, and you're drowning. Come to my place. We'll hack something fun, get you out of your head. Claire's laugh was brittle, a sound she barely recognized. I can't, Lila, I need to figure this out. Lila sighed, her voice softening. You took down a titan. Claire, you're allowed to hurt, but don't let it bury you. The call ended, the rain filling the silence. Its whisper urging Claire to move, to fight, but her limbs were lead. She thought of Ethan's last email, sent from a cheap motel in Portland. His words slurred by desperation. You didn't have to destroy me. Claire, we could have talked. She'd deleted it, her hand steady, but his voice lingered, a ghost in her quiet moments. Sienna's face flashed too, her scream at the IPO. Her wrist twisting in security's grip as Claire watched from the rooftop. Whispering, you built this world, Ethan, I just burned it down. The triumph had been electric. A high like coating a perfect loop. But its aftertaste was poison. A brew she'd poured herself. Zoe's stuffed rabbit, left behind in the penthouse, haunted her most, a symbol of the girl she'd failed to shield. I'm sorry, Zoe, Claire whispered, her voice raw, the words swallowed by the apartment's stillness. She stood, crossing to the window, the rain's reflection rippling across her face, a woman both victor and vanquished. Her coding school was thriving, her name a beacon for women in tech, but the cost was Zoe's laughter. Her small hand in Claire's. Gone. She pulled her phone from her pocket. Its screen cracked from a fall she didn't remember, and opened X one last time. The praise stung, a salt-laced wound. She deleted the app, the icon vanishing with a soft chime, her thumb lingering on the empty space. The rain fell harder, a deluge washing away the city's glow, leaving only her silhouette against the glass. I'll find you again, she murmured, a vow to Zoe, to herself. Carried by the wind, she turned, her bare feet cold on the hardwood. Her jaw set, the apartment's lamp steadied, its light a fragile promise. Claire's heart was a cracked circuit, but it still pulsed, yearning for a reboot that might, someday, bring Zoe home. If you find the story interesting, please like and share this video and leave a comment with your opinion. Don't forget to subscribe to Sweet Revenge and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos.